Amsoil review. Hello everybody, this is Kendall Johnson, and in this video today I'm going to do a short review on Amsoil motor oil as well as the Amsoil transmission oil. I'll also give a couple of brief comments about their gear lube, which I also use for my differential, but all this information is based on a 2007 Dodge Nitro SLT with a 3.7 liter V6 engine and the 4x4 gearbox. So the reason why I'm making this video is because I switched over to Amsoil earlier this year in January 2014, and so far I've accumulated about 5,000 miles since doing the oil change. And I wanted to make this video because there's a lot of videos here on YouTube, but a lot of them are from people who are distributors of Amsoil or the company itself. So I wanted to give a user review and give you my recommendations and let you know other things that are important if you're going to do the switch. Now, the reason why I decided to switch to Amsoil from the regular motor oil that I used to use is for a couple of different key reasons. Now, I think when I first found out about Amsoil, it was from watching YouTube. I don't know what I was searching. I'm sure it had something to do with oil, or maybe it was even an oil problem. But I looked up Amsoil and I went to their website, read the videos, and come to find out that it's actually an excellent product with a very long track record and a very long history in the industry of providing performance oil, synthetic oil for cars and trucks. Okay, so the type of oil that I was previously using was 5W20 regular engine oil, and that we would change every 3,000 miles. So what I found out about Amsoil is that, first of all, it's synthetic, and synthetic is obviously a synthetic brand, a synthetic mixture of oil and different additives that make a sort of like a magic type of oil or lubricant for your engine. So the benefits of synthetic oils over traditional oils is that you get more lubrication, less friction, and in most instances extended time frames in between oil changes. So instead of changing my oil every 3,000 miles, I decided to go for the Signature Series synthetic oil, which goes up to 25,000 miles, which you can see there's a little stamp there on the container. Alright, so that's the reason why I chose this oil to go up to 25,000 miles in between oil changes. Now, this is something that a lot of people would think is too good to be true and so that sort of thing, but all you really have to do is do your own research, and you'll find out that there's people that have used Amsoil in their car for up to 100,000 miles before they actually had to change the oil. The oil just doesn't break down like regular oils do, and that's the bottom line. So there's no disputing here whether or not this works or this is a good idea to go 25,000 miles on this oil. It's proven that this oil can do it, and you pay extra. Now, cost-wise, people are probably wondering how much does it cost. I just ordered an additional 2 quarts of this oil, and it cost $11.20. $11.20 for the quart, plus the shipping and handling. So those are the things to consider when you're doing it. But depending on how many quarts you need for your car, my car requires 5. So we're talking about 5 quarts of oil at 11 is about $55. The filter, I think, was about 20. So you're looking at about $70 for the oil change. And then I also did a engine flush, which they make specifically for changing over your vehicle from regular to the Amsoil, and I think that was about $10 or $15. So it costs about $100 to switch over from regular to the Amsoil. But there's some great benefits. First of all, you have an oil filter that will last up to 25,000 miles, and you also have oil that will last up to 25,000 miles, which means that if you do 10 or 12,000 miles or even 15,000 miles a year driving, you only need to change your oil once a year. And in my case, since I was fortunate enough to have that timing work for my benefit, I was able to do it in January, which makes it easy to remind myself or to know that every first month of the year, every January, is when it's time for me to change my oil. Now, let me get into a couple of things that I've learned. First of all, there's a different application for different cars. My car requires a 5W-20 weight oil. And when you go to Amsoil's website, there'll be a drop-down menu for you to put in the information of your car and confirm the engine that you have, and it will tell you what, it already knows what type of oil your car requires. A friend of mine has a Toyota Camry, and I recently ordered a couple of extra quarts for him as well. And his car uses a 5W30. Okay, so you can see the different color caps for the two different products. So, okay, now the reason why I bought an extra quart of oil is because one of the things that my mechanic told me about synthetic oil is that the problem is that so many people get confident with the benefits of synthetic oil and that they can go longer between intervals of oil changes, is that they stop checking their oil. And what happens is in some instances the car will burn oil or it will lose oil, and by the time the person actually checks the oil, it's too late and they've already damaged the engine, and in some case people can blow their engine. So that's another piece of advice, that, or should I say that's the first piece of advice I want to give you if you are going to switch over to Amsoil or any synthetic, is to remember to continue checking your oil every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever the case is. Whenever you have time to, go in there, check the oil, and make sure it's doing okay. Now, for the first month or so, it was fine. You know, I remember when the first day I had my oil changed, it was at the top of the level where it's supposed to be on the dipstick. It was at the very top line where it's supposed to be. Alright, so I knew from a starting point that if it had moved anywhere from there, that I was losing oil, burning oil. There's no leaks on my car. So what I ended up finding was after 3,000 or 4,000 miles, about 3,000 miles, I noticed that the oil level had started to go down slightly. And I was like, okay, so this stuff, I was expecting that it's not going to burn oil because it's a special synthetic blend. But the truth is that this oil can either burn or be consumed by your engine just like any other traditional oil. Okay? So, you know, don't be overconfident that synthetic oil means that it's not going to burn oil if that's a problem that you're having with your car, or if that's just something that happens with your car. From what I understand, burning oil in an engine today is normal. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your car. It doesn't mean there's anything bad about your engine. It's just the way it happens. In some cars it will do that, and others it won't. So it depending on what your case is and what your car is, it may use oil between oil changes or it may not. For those of you who are familiar with changing your oil and checking your oil levels and so forth, you already pretty much know where you're at with your car and what to expect. So, okay, so I spent about $100 or so and to do the changeover. But the benefit is I don't have to go for oil changes every 3,000 miles. So I don't have to worry about the hassle of getting to a mechanic, getting to a shop to get my car put up on a lift, changing the oil filter and that sort of thing. Typically, I guess I'll probably have to do about 4 oil changes every year. So that's one thing that's eliminated, is that headache of taking it to the shop, which means there's less chances that someone is going to touch your car, damage your car, or create any other problems that didn't exist before you brought your car in. Okay, less trips to the mechanic. And the other benefit is that when you look at how much money it costs, depending on where you live and what type of rates they charge there for oil changes, you could be saving money by switching to Amsoil or a synthetic blend, especially the Amsoil, because by going 25,000 miles, you can figure out how many oil changes you would need to do, and then compare that to how much it costs to switch to to Amsoil, and the Amsoil side will actually factor out to be a lower amount. Now, in the case of me having to add oil, I've already done some calculations after refilling my oil today. Now, out of this quart, as you can see, I have 3 ounces left, and I think it started with 32 ounces. So, just roughly looking at the scale here, I had to put about 2/3 of a quart in for 5,000 miles of driving. So if you figure if you double that and do 10,000 miles, going at the same rate, I would have used 1 1/3 quart of oil. 1 quart and 1/3 of oil for 10,000 miles, which is actually pretty good. So that would be an additional 2 quarts of oil, roughly, let's say, to go an entire year. That's great. You know, that's a very good oil consumption. It's not bad, and it's more within the normal range. So that's pretty much it. I recommend, you know, 100% the Amsoil for all those different reasons. 25,000 miles on a single oil change. Only have to worry about changing your oil once a year. Just continue to check your oil and get an extra quart. You know, depending on your situation, get an extra quart to have on standby for when the time comes that you do need to top up a little bit. Okay. So now moving on to the transmission oil. Now, since I did the engine and I was on their website, I also learned that they have a mixture for transmissions. So I got that as well. So the transmission oil comes in a similar bottle like this, okay? and it's a synthetic blend as well for my vehicle, which is, you know, best for any transmission. And I was unable to flush the transmission because I decided to do it myself because I looked up the information, and the main thing was I wanted to save money. So because the dealer charges quite a bit of money to do those types of maintenance services on vehicles. So what I did was I just ordered 6 quarts, which is approximately what they said will drain out the transmission from just doing a simple drain and refill. I got 6 quarts, and I made myself a drain pan. I lifted the car up off the ground. I changed it myself, so I took off all the bolts for the transmission pan, and I upgraded to a transmission pan gasket called Lube Locker from a website called lubeblocker.com. Now, they may not have it for all applications. I think they have it mostly for trucks, but it's a lifetime gasket that you don't have to change. You don't have to use RTV oil, RTV, to form a gasket when you put the pan back on. But I basically just drained that. I changed the transmission filter while I was there. I put everything back together, and I filled up exactly the amount of transmission fluid that came out because I was actually able to measure it by filling up the old oil into containers. Okay, so the transmission, I'm going to change that. The transmission oil has a longer life than average. You have to look that up and find the information on the website what the transmission fluid lasts. Generally, I think it's good to last up to about 100,000 miles. But even with that said, I recommend not only changing your transmission fluid and using the synthetic because it has a better resistance to heat, which means your transmission will run cooler, which potentially will last longer, and it just has better lubrication factors. But you should change your transmission fluid every couple of years, or say 30,000 miles at the most if you can, because you want to change the filter that's inside your transmission also. The filter gets built up inside of it, and the worst thing that can happen is that you have transmission fluid in your car, but the transmission filter is not allowing transmission fluid to pass through it freely enough to lubricate your transmission. So I did the complete transmission. Also, since I have a 4x4, I have 3 different other places that I had to pay attention to, which was the front axle, the gearbox, the transfer case, as well as the rear differential. Now, each one of those required different oil. Actually, the transfer case uses the same as the transmission fluid. So I was able to order 1 quart of transmission fluid for the transfer case, which I changed myself, simple drain plug. And on the front differential, there is a special lube gear oil that you'll find on Amsoil's website, which which surpasses the OEM recommendations for the type of oil and its longevity, how long it will last and protect your gears. And also for the rear axle, there was another one. For the rear axle, there's also a gasket which I replaced with a lube locker gasket for that. And I was able to do all this myself at home. Didn't require a lot of tools. Just a drain pan, just the time, and the ability to lift the car up off the ground. So that's the front gearbox, transfer case, transmission, and the rear diff. I changed all to Amsoil products, and that's because I want my car to have the best lubrication possible, last as long as possible. And I looked in the owner's manual, and these are things that have to be done in service. And if you can do them yourself to top it off, you'll save a lot of money, and you'll just feel better about yourself knowing that you had something done right. Nobody messed with your car, and you were able to, to do it yourself. That's pretty much it. So far, everything has been good. Like I said, I changed the oil in each one of those things. I don't have any leaks, no problems. And the only thing that I did want to say is making sure you check your oil level with the synthetic fluid in your engine, because there's a potential that if you can go a whole year or 25,000 miles without having to change the oil, you want to make sure that you set short intervals to check, just to make sure that the oil level is okay. But other than that, you're going to save money, save time, save hassle, and the stuff, it works great. Save money as well. So that's it. This is my review on Amsoil, on all of their products that I've mentioned in this video using for my car. And it's worth the money. It's a little bit more expensive than the regular stuff, but when you look at how long the oil lasts in comparison to a regular oil that the car uses, like the one that you will get from the dealership, it makes it worth it. And those things, those parts, the transmission, the gearbox, the differential, they're really expensive to replace if you have a breakdown due to improper maintenance. So this is all in hopes of doing the best preventive maintenance possible to keep your car running and keep everything in great condition. Once again, this is Ken. Thanks for watching this video. I hope I gave some insight. And if you have any questions, post your comments below. If you have any comments, post your comments below. And thanks again for watching this video, and I hope this helps. See you soon.